An EP, short for extended play, is a musical recording that contains more music than a single, but is usually too short to qualify as a full studio album. Well, I guess this is an EP then. Okay, I know it's not really an EP, but it might as well be. What's up guys, my name is Judge Prime, here again with another video. This time we're talking about Joe Budden and his, 4 diss tracks against Drake so far. The fact that he's called Making a Murderer Part 1 makes me feel like there's a Part 2. But we're just going to talk about the 4 tracks, and there's really a lot to cover, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to cover everything, but I'll try my best. My own personal opinions and analysis on all the songs thus far. So if you don't really get into hip-hop that much, or if you don't know what's going on, Joe Budden is a rapper who also tends to be more melodic with his music, who's also a sort of mentor-like figure to Drake. And for some reason or the other, they got into a little beef, or still are in a beef. Basically what happened was, after Drake dropped his Views album, Joe Budden got on his podcast. Joe Budden has a podcast, and he said basically that Drake sounds uninspired on this new album. 40 continues to progress, but Drake sounds uninspired. So a couple of things happened after that. 4 p.m. in Calabasas drops, and there's a couple of lines on there that I do believe as well, and Joe Budden said were directed at him. Said something about Coast Kahiris, and he kidnapped his bitch. I kidnapped your bitch and now you want her back. She's not sorry and I'm not sorry. Things of that nature. French Montana's Free Shopping song, before it came out, he dropped a Snapchat video where Drake is saying pump it up, and basically Pump It Up is a Joe Budden song. So that was another signal that it was a shot at Joe Budden. So Joe Budden goes in and drops his first diss track directed at Drake, Making a Murderer. Now, before we get into the tracks and everything, one thing I've noticed with Joe Budden is he's very good at making people look stupid. For me, I would say that Drake took the L here. Drake definitely took the L, and I'll go down and break down why I think he took the L. So the first one, Making a Murderer. So I actually had to pull up the lyrics, even though I've listened to all these songs a few times. There's a lot that he said on all these diss tracks. Personally, I think after Wake, even Wake was a bit of a stretch for me. For me, he should have stopped at Making a Murderer Part 1, because there's a bucket load of things that he said. And the thing with diss tracks, and the thing with just, attacking someone in general, is don't overdo things. Like, Making a Murderer was hard. The instrumental was grimy and hard. His vocal delivery was full of energy, and his lyrics contained a lot of substance. So let's go and delve into some of the lyrics. There's some things he said here, like, I'm a wordsmith for real, you thought Quentin was bad, obviously referring to Quentin Miller and how Drake, must have felt that Quentin Miller was a good lyricist. And then he says, a black cloud all over the 6, check the overview, you so indirect, shit wasn't clear, either Jimmy was acting or he really missed a chair. Throughout this song, Joe Budden references the fact that many people and himself now think that Drake is an actor and not really a lyricist. He's alluded to the fact that he believes the old school Drake was a better Drake, and he doesn't know what this new Drake is doing. Now this is an interesting line. Gas cause he KO'd a weaker, no Joe's deeper. So coming out of the back-to-back, the whole back-to-back thing, Drake was full of energy. He had just killed a rapper basically, and now he feels he can take anybody on. And this was something going into the, whole Drake Meek Mill thing that I personally saw, and I was like, now he is going to make everybody that disses him relevant. I'm not sitting here saying Joe Budden is relevant. I don't think that's a valid argument. However, when you respond to disses, you open a floodgate for anybody to come at you, and people, fans, whoever will expect that you respond. And that was why Drake was able to get away with a lot of things, because initially when he first started out, he said, diss me and you'll never hear a response from me. But then, with the Kendrick thing, and then he started going at Kendrick on songs like The Language, and then when Meek Mill dissed him with the Twitter fingers, and he actually went in and dropped 2 diss tracks, now you've opened the gate to let other people diss you. And that's what Joe Budden has said here. Like, you think because you killed Meek, you're able to come at me like I'm a real wordsmith, I can really play with words, and I'm a real lyrical G. Another funny, very, very good line. They say that he the best MC and best flower. He cook better than me, but you love my leftovers. Leftovers could mean, you know, ladies, when you have sexual or fuck one chick and another guy comes and, you know, fucks after her. A number of chicks that Joe Budden has had relationships with, Drake has gone in after to have relationships with her. So this is a very nice, you know, little jab here. And throughout all these disses, he's talked about being a very lyrical guy compared to Drake. He's addressed the fact that Drake comes to him for advice, basically with women. Like, he knows that he is the best guy when it comes to dealing with ladies, and Drake comes to him for advice and for clearance for some chicks, like, should I go for this chick and should I go for that? Now, the problem with dissing someone and with dropping 4 diss tracks is at a point you start to repeat yourself. And Making a Murderer Part 1, Wake, those were good. Afraid and Just Because, he started to sort of switch and kind of make it look like he's no longer dissing Drake, but he's trying to, you know, be like, yo, I love you, come here, let me preach to you. And that's the thing with dissing someone. You either repeat yourself or you have a lot of dirt on them, or you use all your ammunition before that person responds. Now, do I think Drake is going to respond? I doubt that. Because there's a number of ways of looking at this. You can look at it from the fact that if Drake responds to Joe Budden, and as Joe Budden has said, he has nothing to lose. Drake is at his peak. So if I'm coming at you, I'm trying to bring you down, and you don't play the right moves, you can lose everything. So obviously Drake isn't going to respond to it for that. But another thing which I feel is interesting and people aren't exactly talking about is Drake must have really touched a nerve in Joe Budden for him to release 4 diss tracks. Now, miss me with the whole, oh, he's not doing it for attention. Nobody does anything publicly without wanting attention. I'm making this video, I want people to watch it. I have a YouTube channel, I want people to watch it. I have a podcast, I want people to listen to it. You go out and make music, you want people to listen to it. You're doing these things in public because you want people to respond to them. I'm not saying he's irrelevant, but obviously he wants that attention. He's going around doing interviews. He's making money off releasing these songs. I think 4 PM Calabasas was what really touched a nerve in Joe Budden. A recurring theme that Joe Budden continues to reference is Tahiri. The fact that he, you know, he wasn't mad that Drake was with Tahiri, and now Drake wants to use that against him. It does have a lot to do with Tahiri, and I would also go further in saying that perhaps Drake already fulfilled what he wanted in hurting Joe Budden, because you have to be affected in some sort of way for you to drop 4 diss tracks. You don't just wake up one morning and drop 4 diss tracks. The same way Drake was affected when Meek Mill said he doesn't write his own bars and felt the need to drop 2 diss tracks to prove that he does write, is the same way that Joe Budden felt affected. He referenced the fact in a podcast with the Brilliant Idiots that, you know, people know how good of a writer he is, and for Drake to sub him like that must have meant he took him for granted. So I think 2 things were at play here. One, that Joe Budden felt slightly insulted that Drake would underestimate him, and 2, using Tahiri as sort of a par against Joe Budden was something that affected him and made him drop 4 diss tracks. Now, moving forward, do I honestly expect a response like a diss track from Drake? No. If Drake was to drop a diss track, he would have done it by now. Will Drake sub him? Yes, Drake will probably sub him in probably the mixtape that he's gonna drop with Gucci and things like that. So Joe Budden, the 4 diss tracks were all powerful. I like how in the Making a Murderer he sampled where Drake is giving him props that he listened to him. I like in Afraid how he interpolates the resistance. I like all of that, and I like the little, you know, meaning behind like the album cover, like where the Toronto Tower, people were scared because they thought it was a terrorist attack. And also looking at it another way, you could say it's sort of like a subliminal message saying your tower is on fire, like Drake's tower, because on Views he's sitting at the top, and now it's saying your tower is on fire, like I'm coming for your legacy. So that's another thing. But I will say Drake took the L But in a low-key way, he took a W by making Joe Budden respond in this way. Because like I said, nobody responds with 4 diss track if they're not affected by something you said. Thirdly, Joe Budden is very good at making people look stupid and making himself look like this, you know, very smart and well-calculated individual. So I think he's accomplished all of that. I would say now, like, yeah, there's no need for you to keep going. We know you murdered Drake. If you go any further, it now looks like you're overdoing it. The fact that there is a Making a Murderer part 1 means there's a part 2. Now, we could speculate and say the part 2 has a lot more dirt on Drake, or that the part 2 is meant for someone like Meek Mill, should Meek Mill cross the line. And I think that's what part 2 would probably most likely be. Part 2 would be a diss against Meek Mill. Joe Budden, great diss tracks. If you're a fan of hip hop and a fan of the culture, go and check it out. Check all of them out, you know, absorb it. If you're a Drake hater as well, go and absorb it. Now, moving forward, I hope they can make up, because Joe Budden sounds hurt. He's like, we smoked hookah together. My name is Dijaji Prime. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you're new around here, why not click subscribe so that you can be updated with all my new videos. And I hope you have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.